Okay, ladies and gentlemen, automotive enthusiast friends from all around the planet Earth, it's been a while, but we are back with another...
Yes, sir, Kevin, we are back with another Murthy episode of V8 Radio.
Murthy? Is it Mike Tyson saying mercy?
Murthy faith.
Yes.
Well, Murthy means amusement, especially expressed in laughter.
Oh, wow. Well, hopefully we have some.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Right on. Well, you are listening to V8 Radio. I'm your host, Kevin Oeste, joined as always by our esteemed co-host, Mr. Mike Clarke. And if you have heard this show before, you know that we like to start every episode with an automotive-type trivia question before we get into the meat of the show.
And potatoes.
And potatoes and broccoli and Brussels sprouts.
Sauce.
Yeah. So, have you prepared a trivia question?
Indeed, Kevin, I have. And we're going to ease our way back into it with a nice softball question for you today and for our listeners. So, Kevin, if you noticed on the passenger side view mirror of most cars, it has a saying on there that says, "Objects in mirror are closer than they appear." So, how is this wizardry achieved, Kevin, and why is it done?
Ooh. Well, wizardry. Wizardry in the mirror. Sounds like a good, record title.
Or something.
Yeah.
A message in a bottle, wizardry in a mirror.
Ghost in the Machine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something.
Yeah. Call Sting. Well, I think the wizardry is achieved by making a convex mirror. It's not flat, and I think concave curves inward and convex goes outward, and I could be backwards on that. But that is done so that you have a wider field of view out of that side mirror to see cars in other lanes and whatnot. And the visual effect is that everything appears smaller because you're stretching that field of view by altering the shape of the mirror. So that's my guess.
A very scientific answer. I like it. You use words like convex and concave. I appreciate that.
Well, these days that was a reach. So
right on.
Yeah.
And we'll find out at the end of the show, sir.
All right. I've got one for you.
Talk to me.
You've no doubt heard of the band REO Speedwagon.
I have heard of REO Speedwagon.
Of course. And you know that the REO Speedwagon essentially was a vehicle.
I thought you were going to go there. Keep going.
So what does REO stand for?
Oh, I actually knew this at one point in my life.
Can we go back to that point somehow?
We're going to try our best here.
Dig it up.
REO Speedwagon.
The Speedwagon part doesn't matter at this
right.
point, but REO does. Maybe was it in high school that you knew this, or
possibly? All right, we're gonna say that REO is initials for an option package on a Rambler automobile, and it was the Rambler Executive Option.
Wow. Rambler Executive Option.
And I swear to all that's holy, if I'm right about this, I'm going to quit this whole show forever.
Oh, man. Well, that's
there may be some of those people out there who are gunning for me, but we'll
yeah, right. No, that's quite a promise. Okay, the Rambler Executive Option. I dig that.
Thank you.
We shall find out at the end of the show, friends.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That's going to be good.
Yeah. All right. So as we launch this episode, I think it's only fair to offer up an apology to our listeners because we've been away for a long time.
Yeah, I ended up in a Thai prison. I wasn't wearing a mask, and I apologize to everybody out there for that. Shame on me. Lesson learned.
Yeah. Nice of you to dive on the grenade there, pal.
Absolutely. That's what we do.
This was 100% my fault. And I don't know how much we need to discuss all this, but I was in Arizona doing an off-road event that we had talked about, I think, previewed, the
Yes.
Off-Road Expo. And I caught what's known as San Joaquin Valley fever,
Ooh.
which is a fungal infection that you get when certain spores are stirred up in the dust in states like southern
Arizona.
part of California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, part of Nevada, and they call it valley fever for short. And it's a thing, man. It's a problem out there. In fact, many years ago, my dad had it. He lived in Scottsdale, so I know my body chemistry was susceptible to this.
Mm.
But I'd been visiting my parents out there for 25 years and
Right.
never had anything. But this was the first time I was out in an environment right next to a display put on by Jeep where they were kind of, it wasn't like a Baja 1000 type thing. They were just crawling around. But apparently some wind blew some of these San Joaquin Valley fever spores my way, and I inhaled them, and they prolificated inside my lungs. And next thing you know, I had pneumonia, and nobody knew what the cause was. And the interesting part of this was my pneumonia developed the same time as the SEMA 360 event
Right.
online. So my role in SEMA 360 was to do a daily update video, and they would send me some bullet points in the evening. And I had Ben, our video editor and producer, we had essentially 2 hours to turn these bullet points into a delivered video and sent back to the guys at SEMA, and then they would distribute this through a mass email the next morning.
Right.
And I had a cough and I had pneumonia. I was out of gas. I was mentally shot, but I also had this valley fever fungal infection going on, which was doubly kind of kicking my ass. And towards the end of the week, I would be sitting in a chair all day, reclined, basically asleep until that email came in.
Oh wow!
And then it was go time to try and write, the change the bullet points into some sort of a deliverable script. And it was so bad, my brain was completely shot. Normally, I'd be able to just look at the bullet points and tell the story. It'd be easy.
Sure.
I had to script everything, and we had to shoot these line by line because I couldn't retain any information.
Oh man!
And I'm coughing like crazy in between it all, and it was bad. And I had gone to my general practitioner when it first kind of came on, and they're like, "Yeah, you got a little cough. Here's some steroids, and you'll be fine." So I took those for a week, and it got worse. And I went to an urgent care facility, and they gave me a chest X-ray, and they're like, "Yeah, you've got pneumonia. Here's more steroids and some antibiotics." Well, meanwhile, my wife Kelly figured out that I had all the symptoms of this valley fever.
She sure did.
She remembered what my dad went through, and she's like, I think you got this. And we went back to my general doctor and told him about it. And here we're recording this in the Midwest. We don't have this here. This is,
Right.
not something that comes up. So, he was a little suspect, but thankfully he was responsive, and he's like, "I'm not sure what this is, but I'm going to look it up and we'll see what it is." And once he did that, he's like, "Yeah, I think you've got this." Well, the problem is, being a fungal infection, steroids feed it.
Really?
So the 2 weeks of steroids I had made it worse.
Oh my gosh!
So shortly after that, I landed in the ER, and I was completely dehydrated, and I had the worst headache of all time, and the symptoms are fever and coughing and lung problems, and it can turn into meningitis, and you can have some real long-term problems. So I was doing all I can just to stay, I really wasn't coherent. After the SEMA thing, I went home, went to bed. I'd been out of the shop for over a month. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
This is never, I'm not a sick guy. This has never happened to me before. And at one point, my general practitioner said, Well, we did some blood tests, which verified that this is exactly what I had. So it was not just a shot in the dark.
Right.
But my general practitioner, he's a great guy. He's actually a customer of ours at the shop. He's got a cool little Jeep.
Oh, right.
And he said, I don't really want you to come into the doctor's office because COVID is climbing and you're immunocompromised because you're sick, but I really need to see you. So let's come in for a quick visit. And I get in there and he goes, you look like S, and I said, well, it makes sense. I kind of feel like that. My blood pressure was like 96 over 78 or something.
Wow.
It was way down.
Yeah.
And he said, if you're not careful, you're going to die.
Oh boy.
And I said, yeah, whatever. And he goes, I'm not kidding here. He said, you're going to die, and here's how it's going to happen, right? He said, you're completely dehydrated, which means you can't function, your organs aren't working right, and you are immunocompromised, and you're going to need an IV for fluids because you can't drink enough water to come out of this. He said, and to get an IV, you're going to have to go somewhere to a hospital or an urgent care or something. And because of COVID, nobody's got room.
Oh, man.
If you get into a hospital, they're going to spike you with the IV fluid. But the hospitals are jammed with COVID patients, and you're going to get COVID, and that's how you're going to die.
Oh, geez.
And I was like, oh.
Well, you sure don't paint a pretty picture, Doc.
Well, but the great thing is he laid it out, in terms that made sense. And Kelly's like, yeah, well, we're not going to let that happen. So we took some steps to really focus on the hydration.
Good.
And I got some supplements that help your cells absorb water and fluids and whatnot. And they put me on this antifungal medication. And shortly thereafter, things started to turn around, which was good.
That is good.
Pneumonia went away and all that kind of stuff. So as of today, I just completed my first week back in the shop.
Nice.
Yes. And I didn't have to take any naps during the day.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, one side benefit is I lost 26 pounds. I didn't intend to, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
And here we are. So that's the reason why we've been out of production for a little while, is because I was down for the count. So
you're laid up.
Apologize for that.
Yeah. Well, I know I speak for all of our listeners when I say we're glad that you came out of this. I was worried about you. I know your family and Kelly was worried about you. I mean, because you and I, we talk quite a bit. I mean, we're texting each other all day.
Yep.
And not just we don't just talk during the show. I mean, we communicate quite a bit, and it was like a week or week and a half, 2 weeks where I wasn't hearing boo from you.
Yeah, there was nothing.
Because I knew that what was going on, and I know I was really worried. I know Kelly was really worried, and I'm just thankful that you're able to come out of this and come to the right side of this thing. So,
well, I appreciate that.
Glad you're back.
I didn't really know. Looking back, people are telling me things that I really wasn't that aware of. I didn't look at my phone for a week and a half.
Yeah.
Today, it's such a habit. It seems kind of. I challenge somebody to do that, intentionally. It'd be tricky.
Sure.
But Kelly told me a story that one night I woke up in the middle of the night and this headache was so bad, I just needed some kind of relief, and I was already sleeping with an ice pack on my head and an ice pack on my neck. And I was taking Tylenol because they didn't want me to take Advil or any of that stuff just because of the medication. But I got out of bed and I staggered into the bathroom, and she heard some noise and came into the bathroom and found me with a spilled bottle of Advil and like 50 pills in my mouth.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude.
And they're stuck to my face and everything. And I'm going, and she's like, oh my God. And, she starts trying to pick these things out of my mouth. And I'm just like, make it go away.
Oh my God. Oh man.
So it was pretty brutal.
Oh boy. I'm sorry. Oh Lord.
Yeah. That would have been kind of hilarious to see, but, Yeah, that was interesting. So, one of the byproducts also is I kind of lost a good part of my voice, so I might be a little scratchy here and there in this episode. I'm drinking some tea to help kind of bring it around,
Mm-hmm.
but please forgive me.
No, you sound great. You've never been better.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
No, not really. Maybe a teensy bit, but
Yeah.
but you
So
sound
anyway,
good. Yeah,
well, thank you. Enough of that nonsense.
right on. And on with the show.
Yes, on with the show. So there's a lot going on, even though I've been out of it. You, my friend, came home with a set of freshly reconditioned Pontiac cylinder heads today.
I most certainly did, sir. I most certainly did. Our good friend Eric Van Berkom was kind enough to take this project on for me a few months ago, and got these heads that I gave him in tip-top condition. It's amazing the work he does. It's unbelievable.
He's an artisan.
He really is. These are later model Pontiac heads from a 77 Trans Am, and as such, most Pontiac guys will know that the Pontiacs use a center crossover, exhaust crossover to heat up the carb. But the early model intake manifold doesn't match the later model head's exhaust crossover. So you either have to block it off with a block-off plate, or some people end up filling them with molten, like aluminum. And he opted to fill those with aluminum, made the transition really nice and smooth. They look fantastic. They're going to bolt up perfectly, and I'll finally have a fully assembled engine here shortly. And
Yes.
I can work on getting all the little doodads that it's going to take to get everything connected and fired up.
Yeah, that's really cool. And those 77 Pontiac cylinder heads normally wouldn't be that desirable because of the inherent lower compression.
Correct.
But that's kind of something that you wanted.
It is. This engine is, I stroked it out to 4.25 stroke, and because of that, with the larger chambers, the compression ratio will be about between 9 and 9.5 to 1, which will be perfect for pump gas. I could probably even get away with running 87 octane in that.
Yeah, and they are iron heads, so
Yeah.
you don't have the advantage of being able to add compression just because of aluminum.
Right.
So that 9.5 to 1 is probably ideal for an iron head,
for sure.
especially one that's going to get driven distances like you plan.
This will be driven distances.
Yeah,
for sure. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. It's a big step forward.
That's huge. So when as we're recording this, we're getting into the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to try to get any part of this assembled soon, or is there any plans? Or
I am going to try to get this assembled soon. I called my buddy Randy's been instrumental in helping me get this engine put together. We've talked about him before on the show, and I called him today, and the first words out of my mouth when he answered was, "I've got heads. I've got heads." So we gotta come up with a plan to get them over there and get everything assembled up properly. So, which
is awesome.
Yeah, which is probably going to happen. I'm hoping that it can happen next week.
Yeah,
so
that'd be killer.
Yeah, it'd be great.
And part of that experience was visiting Eric's shop.
It was an experience.
or Eric's indoor junkyard, as it's affectionately known. But I'll tell you what, if that's a junkyard, this is the definition of junkyard gold.
All day long. I walked in there and I looked around and I said, I could spend all day here. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. He has I think it's a 70 Caprice station wagon, a 427 Caprice wagon that was there on a lift that he's been putting together, he said, for the last 20 years.
Yep. He's had that a long time. I think it's a little older than that. I think it's
maybe a 69, 68 or something.
Yes, I think it's a 69. Cool car, brown with wood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and to describe this, there are, of course, all the machine tools necessary for a machine shop. And there are engine blocks, and there are cranks, and there's cylinder heads, and there's intakes and carburetors and racks with other parts and pistons and rods and you
just
you
everywhere.
And he's got it all cataloged.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, most of it is contextual. So there's Pontiac parts over here, and there's Oldsmobile parts, and like old Cadillac stuff,
Mm.
from the 50s, and Lincoln parts and MEL Ford stuff, and then Ford FE parts. He's got all kinds of stuff, and he's been our go-to guy for a lot of these little bit off the wall projects because he's
Mm-hmm.
been doing this so long. He knows all the tricks. And a couple of years ago, we were working on a Ford 428 that the crank was bad, and we called him because finding a good Ford 428 crank today is not easy. These things just you don't
Sure.
go to AutoZone and get a crank for a 428 Ford.
Right.
And he's like, "Yeah, I got one. It's already been machined and balanced, and it's ready to go." So dropped it in the mail, and here you go.
Oh, how lucky is that? Well,
Yeah.
he did mention to me also. He says, "Hey, if you need any, oddball Pontiac parts, let me know. I deal with about 5 guys that deal with a lot of Pontiac stuff, so I'll probably be able to find something for you if you need it." So that was nice to have that connection now.
Yeah, he's way connected with any motor, any
Sure.
brand. So that's really cool. I'm glad
Yeah.
that all worked out.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
Looking forward to
I brought him a couple pounds of bacon, which is his favorite, as a nice thank you for him as well.
Yeah, that works.
Oh, it does. I mean, good butcher shop bacon, not some supermarket pre-wrap stuff.
Yeah. Here's some Oscar Mayer. Thanks. Do you know my bologna has a second name?
It's get the hell out of here.
That's killer.
Mm-hmm. So you've been back to the shop for a week. So what's been going on over there?
Well, first it was a matter of relearning, where I work.
Right.
Because it was crazy getting reacquainted, and I'm super fortunate. Our crew is wonderful. They are just great people. And I'm not saying that just because I work with these people. And I'll give you an example in a minute that I showed you before. But everybody was asking, how I was doing, and sending messages to Kelly about all that. And when I came back, it was clear that they were genuinely concerned,
Well, sure.
and happy that I was returning, which was great. And the fun thing is, we had a whole bunch of new cars in the shop that I was completely unfamiliar with,
Oh, wow. You're like a kid in a candy shop then.
especially with a few of these cars. So the team, once again demonstrated that they don't need me there to run this place for sure, which is a wonderful feeling.
Sure.
And they got some great cars, and one of them is a '68 Shelby GT500 KR 4-speed convertible,
Mm,
which I shared a picture of on Facebook.
you did. And that's a real one.
It's a real one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the Shelby registry and the whole thing, and it was restored a couple of years ago, and it came to us because it's not running right, and the owner wanted us to maybe pull the motor and rebuild it. Coincidentally, it's a Ford 428, so might have to call Eric.
Right on.
But we're thinking that there's a possibility that there's just something maybe wrong with the carburetor and the tune that's on it, and it might not need a rebuild. So we're going to do a full diagnostic on it, a leak down test, compression test, all that stuff, and see if we can nurse this thing back to health without being that invasive. But we shall see.
Cool.
Yeah. And another couple late 70s Trans Ams have showed up, which is
Ooh,
cool.
nice.
Yeah, another 77 and a 79. And then this Coronet 500 68 car with a 383 that we pulled the motor, sent the motor out for a rebuild, and we're detailing under the hood. So we, Mopars are all body color on the inner fenders and firewalls, so we stripped all that and repainted that. And significant progress has been made on the 70 Superbird project that we're working on.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a car that was born as what was it? It was a Satellite or a Savoy. No. It was it wasn't even a Roadrunner. It was just a base 2-door Plymouth that was cloned into a GTX. So it had
Okay.
the GTX stripes and the side scoops and that whole look on
Is
it.
it a Belvedere?
No, it wasn't a Belvedere, and you got to forgive me because my memory took a hit from
Yeah.
this stupid thing that I got. So the plan is to do a whole Superbird conversion on the car and give it that look. Obviously, not trying to pass it off as a real one because
Sure.
those are pretty much all known and accounted for. So this is just a fun car. So this is the third personality this car is going to have over its lifetime, and so this one the owner opted for an aluminum rear wing.
Okay.
Which is pretty interesting because the rear wing originally is steel, and you might have seen pictures of people sitting on the wing.
Yes.
They're very, very strong, and you got the wing, and there's some supports that go down through the quarters that attach to the rear rails through the trunk floor. And the aluminum wing is actually cast aluminum.
Oh, really?
So it's a 3-piece deal. You got your 2 side uprights and your top spoiler, and it's very, very heavy.
Is it?
Yes.
Interesting.
It's solid. It's solid aluminum.
Solid cast aluminum.
It's 3.5 feet tall, and 5 feet wide. So I'm trying to find out from a vehicle dynamics standpoint if this is going to be okay. I don't know what the weight of the steel one was, but it was formed sheet metal, so it was hollow inside.
Sure.
And this thing is completely solid. So,
wow. I bet that'll hold a few people up on it.
Well, yeah, I'm just hoping it doesn't, rip off the back of the car.
There's that.
Going around a turn or something. So,
so
anyway.
Good point.
Yeah. It's a beefy thing. So that's all, pretty cool to see these projects advance. Some of them that had been there before I left, the needle has moved quite further down, after a month of the guys working on them too. So it was neat to see the progress. We've got a 67 Camaro that we've basically rebodied with quarters and floors and a roof skin and everything. And it's got a 556 horsepower GM LSA supercharged motor in it and good suspension and all kinds of fun parts. And it's a roller now, and it's getting ready to go into the bodywork phase, which was significantly further along than before. So love to see that.
Sounds tasty.
It's going to be a cool car. It's our painter, Jeff. He was tasked with coming up with some color spray outs for the owner. And the owner, he's a distance customer, so it's not like he can stop in every day. And he made a plan to come visit us at the shop and check out the progress of the car. And he had seen a couple different blues that he liked. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, see if you can make me a spray out of this color and maybe something else if you can, come up with something. So Jeff invented a color that he called atmosphere blue.
Ooh, I like it.
It's killer. And it won. So the car will be Jeff's exclusive blend of atmosphere blue.
Nice. You see this color, boys? That's a one-off made just for me.
Yep. And normally we don't like to do custom colors because, if the thing gets scratched or something, they're not as easy to repair.
Yeah.
But we're going to supply the owner with the recipe information so he can take it anywhere and, get it color matched and fixed if he needs to. So that's pretty sweet.
Very nice, man. Getting back to the crew, they just presented you with a nice little something for the holiday season.
Well, and that's where I was going with all this. So, touching base with all the crew members and seeing them, I felt terrible being out because I couldn't contribute to the team. I couldn't do my daily job, and I didn't want to leave those guys hanging. And that's big with me. And amidst all my apologies, this past week we had a staff meeting, and we were going to have a holiday party because it's that time of year, but because of COVID, that plan got kind of canceled and postponed a little bit. So it wasn't a full-on, our typical festivities.
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, the crew presented Kelly and I with a couple of gifts. And they presented hers first, which was super cool. It was Kelly loves to fish, so it was a fishing lure, I think an advertising sign of some sort. It was like a 1.5 foot long fishing lure with giant hooks on it,
Oh, wow.
mounted on a board with the actual lure mounted below it, the little one.
Okay.
And the whole crew signed it, and
Oh, nice.
the theory behind the fishing lure is our crew for the past couple of years has gone out of their way to give Kelly and I things that don't have anything to do with work.
Good.
They want us to get out of Dodge, to get out of the shop and enjoy some time. And that's
Sure.
not always easy or possible. So they want us to keep our sanity, and it's a very nice thing. So that's a nice reminder for her to go fishing,
Good.
and be out of the shop. So after they presented that, they come wheeling out. And I couldn't believe it. It's about a 3.5 foot tall scale model of the Saturn V rocket that took the Apollo missions, to the moon.
Sure.
And it's actually a Lego version, so it needed some assembly. And they also handed me a build book, essentially, of this project coming together. And it completely blew me away, because not only is this a killer cool gift, because I'm a space program geek and I love that kind of stuff, but the build book shows the pictures of the crew members coming together to build this thing on their own time.
See, that is amazing to me.
It is amazing.
Unreal.
So it's not just a team that works under the same roof because that's their job and they get paid to do it.
Mm-hmm.
These are people that, and I knew this, but it was further, verification that they're friends. They enjoy each other's company. They can work together under any circumstance. And they spent, Amber, our administrative assistant, tallied it, a total of 35 man hours putting this together.
Unreal.
And
That's crazy. I mean, what a testament to their dedication to you guys and what you mean to them. So I applaud them. Bravo.
Yeah, and it was, it was hard not to tear up, when they presented this thing, both because it's the rocket, which is great, and then how they did it, and the pictures. They're all having a great time and working together and putting this. So they, to me, they set aside their own personal time to do something for me that they knew I would like and appreciate, and it's really amazing. So I can't say enough about these people. They're just a wonderful team.
That's got to be every business owner's dream, to have a crew like that working with them.
I would definitely imagine so, and I've been spoiled because this is the only business that I've owned, so
Right.
This is the only time I've ever been the boss. So I don't know what it's like to work in a Walmart as a manager or an owner. I don't know what it's like where people are 5 o'clock out the door and they don't care. I've been so lucky to be around people that love to do what they do and want to put the time in and enjoy being at the shop and enjoy hanging out afterwards. And it's been that way since day one with our business.
Sure.
So that's what I know, but I super sincerely appreciate that, because I know that's not how it is in the real world.
Right. Well, what's cool is that what you guys do and what your crew does is not just a job. It's really a passion. And they're lucky enough to be able to get paid for it. So, I mean, they probably think they're just as lucky as you are in that respect.
Well, in many ways, I hope so. And I know they value the experience, and there's ways to make more money doing this kind of stuff. But, like, again, to pick on Jeff, our painter, he said in that same meeting, he would much, much rather be painting the underhood of a 68 Coronet 500 than spraying crinkled Honda bumper covers all day long. Even though it might be more pay, he can't do it.
It just sucks the soul right out of you.
Right.
Yeah.
So, in all our different departments, everybody's kind of got that same passion and appreciation. So it really makes life a lot smoother in doing the work, and everybody
Yeah.
respects each other and each other's abilities. Um, and again, I'm so appreciative of the team. They're just amazing. And so the Saturn V is proudly displayed in my office, and they built a stand for it, and they all signed it. And I had learned on this show, I'd mentioned Sarge before, our Air Force vet who does our shipping and receiving and general facility organization. It was his idea to get the rocket, which was brilliant. And it's not a secret that I'm into the space program. All of our monthly meetings have some kind of NASA quote at the top of the page and all that kind of stuff.
Right on.
But it was really thoughtful, and then for everybody to come together on their own time. Life is busy, so
Sure.
it's hard to do that kind of stuff.
But they made you a priority. You and Kelly a priority, so that's fantastic. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah. And we do them too. I mean, they are the biggest motivator for advancing the business is to make sure that everybody's got a place to work and is taken care of, and
Right on.
we're constantly trying to offer additional benefits and services and stuff. And we've got some new stuff coming out for them too. And I don't know, it's a great thing. I'm very fortunate.
Amen, brother. Well said.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll try not to cry.
It's okay, you big lug.
Yeah, I'm not kidding,
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I see the joy that doing what you do gives you, the opportunities it affords you, and you're able to do what you love, and that's what we all want.
Yep.
So good on you.
Well,
you made it, man. You made it.
Yeah, and not without Kelly's help for sure. And this has been an especially trying time for her because she took a lot of time to take care of my dead weight ass, and she was out of the shop a lot, working from home on the laptop and everything else, and again with.
I know that was bothering her a lot.
Yeah, totally. And, torn between trying to get things done and be there for the team and be there with me at the same time. And there was no mutiny there either. So that was great. And I know that, they appreciate her the same way and her them. So.
Yeah. Well, the good news is you built a good management team to be able to handle things without the both of you there, at least for the short term. So that's huge. Business didn't have to grind to a halt, and you didn't have to make any crazy sacrifices to keep things afloat. So
no, we've got leaders internally that we can trust and that do a great job, and the customers didn't suffer at all. There was no disruption of service, so to speak, or loss of quality standard or anything with us being out. So.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you've been preparing for years for this.
Yeah, I just didn't really think that this would be the way to test it out. Oh man. But thinking of things that I missed, you had signed me up for this Haggerty online trivia night, and I just did not have the oats to participate. But then later I thought maybe I should have. Tell me how this all went down.
Well, it was a Zoom meeting with Haggerty and some other Haggerty members, and we're just talking, and they had about 21 questions prepared, and it was a simple. They sent us a gift box beforehand with a notepad, a Sharpie, a pen, some movie popcorn, and a coasters and a keychain because you can't have too many keychains.
Right.
And so they were trying to make a night of it, a nice little evening. And they'd ask a question, and you would have to write your answer down on a note. You had 30 seconds to write your answer, and you showed your answer at the end, and just kept track of your score. And our show, our little V8 radio podcast, has prepared me well for this very event because I knew a lot of these answers.
Really?
And I think One or two of these questions they asked, we've asked on the show, but I can't remember what they were. But I remember like, oh my gosh, we asked this on the show. I absolutely know this answer. So it was great. But I ended up tying for second place.
Nice.
Yeah, but they had a tiebreaker question, and I lost the tiebreaker. So in the end, I came in third out of about 14 people that were on the.
Hey, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
And my fear was that my recall was diminished, so I wouldn't be very good at trivia. But you mentioned that this was a multiple choice.
Correct. It was all multiple choice, except the last question was not.
The tiebreaker, or the
tiebreaker was not.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, the tiebreaker was not. It was about this Duesenberg that sold at Gooding auction. What was the final hammer price with the buyer and seller's premium?
You'd have to know.
You'd have to know. And the one guy who worked for Haggerty knew exactly what it was, because he said, "Are you kidding me? I got to know what my competition's doing." So he got the right. It was 22 million, and I guessed 14 million. I thought, that's a good number.
Yeah. So a guy that works for Haggerty won it?
Yeah. Well, he came in second.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he broke the tiebreaker question.
So what was the level of questions? Not necessarily the level, but the scope. Was it?
It was
global.
It was
cars?
all over the place. Yes, it was global
imagine.
cars. Yeah, it was all. There was Cadillacs were in an answer, Ferraris were in an answer, just all kinds of stuff. I mean, everything under the sun. So it was really interesting.
Yeah, I bet.
And I hope we can do it again.
Yeah, that's cool. Next time I'll be well enough to play along.
Yeah, darn right you are. I'm not going to let you squeeze a lot of it next time. That's my problem with you. I let you off the hook too much.
Ah, man. It is kind of true.
It is. I'm an enabler. What can I say?
Yeah. Well, another online event that occurred since our last cast was the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals virtual show.
Yes, it was.
Which
that was pretty cool.
It came out really nice, and the backstory was that Bob Ashton and the team that run the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals in Chicago were very dismayed that they could not host the show this year because of the COVID virus, and it got canceled. So I had talked to Bob, and I kind of stepped out of line a little bit and made a suggestion that I didn't really have the authorization to, but I said I knew that the people that own the Brothers Collection, where we shoot Muscle Car of the Week, are getting very, very close to completing their museum. And I called Bob and I said, wouldn't it be cool to do a video online tour of the museum? Because it's basically very similar to going to the McCacken show, with all the high-end top muscle cars in the world and under one roof. And Bob said, I love the idea. And he actually called those guys and pitched it, and they loved it. So then it was on,
Yeah.
And, the goal was like, can we do an hour and a half online video presentation and tour the facility? And Bob started to get some notable guests to come in, fly in from different parts of the country to talk about specific cars. An expert on the AAR Cudas and Ford Cobra Jets, and Charlie Lillard was there, who was acting as kind of the face of the museum and whatnot. So all these pieces had to come together. And when we shoot Muscle Car of the Week, there's a gentleman named Evan who lives in Southern California. He's a cinematographer that I've worked with for years. He's part of our crew. We bring him up. And Ben, who I mentioned before, Koopman, he comes with me, and the two of us fly out and we go do our thing. Well, there was some resistance on the part of Evan, being from Southern Cal, because in the entertainment industry in Southern California, they have people that are called COVID officers that are on set to make sure that you are distancing and that you're masked and that you're playing the part. And Evan was very insistent on creating a COVID contract that he wanted everybody to sign that said, you haven't been exposed in the past 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have it, and once this, you'll distance, and once this is over, you will report back if you get
Find out
symptoms.
that you did. Okay.
Right. So this was very, very important to him, which, it is to everybody, but where I live, it isn't, we're lucky enough that where it's not so prevalent to be, that scary, plain and simple. So, I was talking with Evan, and the time is getting closer and closer to doing the shoot. We had about a 2-week window, and then a week to shoot it, and then a week to turn around the video and launch it on the same day that the McCacken show would have been on a Saturday night, November 21st. So here we have all these people flying in and everything else. And I told Evan, I said, you're going to be in this giant museum, so people can definitely stay far apart.
Spread out, yeah.
It's easy to do. And he said, yeah, but what about the airports and the rental cars and everything to get there? And I said, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So we got to the point where he was about to bail.
Oh no.
He said, I'm not going to risk my health for this. That's just what it's going to be, which is respectable. And I get it. Meanwhile, I've got pneumonia and I can't go.
Right. I know that was ripping you apart too.
It was ripping me apart because the Muscle Car or the Muscle Car of the Week series was basically supposed to culminate with a tour of the museum.
Oh.
It was supposed to all come together with, we've done all these cars and now here's the whole place. And that's essentially what we were going to shoot, and I couldn't do it. And I couldn't be part of it. And I was like, it was killing me. So Ben's looking at me like, I can't do this alone. What's going on?
It's time for you to fly, little bird.
Yeah. So eventually Evan called me back and he said, I went over it. I can do this. I'll take precautions. We'll be safe, and
okay.
We'll make it happen. And thank God he did that. So Ben and Evan went out and shot for 3.5 days and did all the interviews while I was asleep.
Oh,
I was
man.
in bed, done. And this is the first time I've ever had a video production that I just couldn't even
do anything with.
I couldn't do anything. So there was a lot of interesting things that, there's questions that come up, content questions and logistics questions and all this stuff that happens during a shoot. And luckily, Kelly worked with Ben and Evan and Bob Ashton and got all these things, resolved so that so they could do it. And I felt bad because I'm normally the buffer between, we'll say the client and the crew, and the client at this point was the Muscle Car Corvette Nationals. And those guys had a vision of what they wanted to see, which was walking up and down the aisles and pointing at cars and doing their thing. Well, on the production side, we knew that actors have a hard time walking and talking. And when you have regular people, we did not have the time to be able to shoot somebody walking and talking and pointing out cars and tripping over a word and redoing, and we just didn't have the time.
Right.
So our strategy was to be, let's take each individual, sit them down in an interview style, ask them all the questions about the stuff, and then the camera crew will go get video of everything that they said. So you're still going to get the same effect, but it's actually going to look nicer and it'll be more efficient to shoot. Well, when I say I act as the buffer, if I was there, I would have been able to say just that and say, this is how, and then it'd probably be fine. But in this case, the clients didn't quite understand, and the crew was like, we're too busy to explain this. So there was, a few moments that were a little bit tense. And the crew did it the way that we wanted to. I mean, they had the cameras, so that's how it was going to be. But at the end of the day, the program looks dynamite.
It does look dynamite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great. And I was pretty honored to be able to be asked to do some voiceover on there and Ben wrote the copy for.
Yep.
So he stepped up in that respect as well. So
you guys work tightly
together. He has a
together.
new skill.
Well, he's got lots of skills. He's most definitely skillful. But yeah, you're right. The show opens with some voiceover from Mr. Mike Huball Clarke, and throughout during the little promotional breaks and stuff, and that was all done killer. And I remember waking up at one point, like on Wednesday or something, and I was in a panic. And Kelly's like, "What's the matter?" And I'm like, "We got to do some. We got to do some voiceover." And she's like, "They got it. Don't worry.
It's all done.
It's
there.
written.
Happy?
It's done. It's over." I'm like, "Don't forget this." She's like, "No. Take more pills and go to sleep." Yeah.
Here's another bottle of aspirin.
Yeah, right.
Dump that down your gullet.
Yeah. So that was another testament to working with quality people like yourself that were able to pull that off.
I was so happy I was able to contribute in just the small way I was. So thank you for that.
No, I really appreciate it. And when the McCacken team saw the video, they loved it. And
Good.
The response online was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up being just over an hour long because a couple of the interview people couldn't make it for their own reasons. And then I was supposed to do a piece on the Buick section of the museum, which of course didn't get shot because I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. That's a long form video. It's an hour long, and it is getting some pretty good numbers on the YouTube channels.
Right on.
People are sitting through the whole thing, and at the end, they're posting comments saying, "Hey, I wish it was longer. I wanted to see more."
Love it.
So, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, a few of those guys I recognized from interviewing them from when you were in Saudi Arabia, and I was at the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals. I'm like, hey, I remember that's the Boss 4029 guy. Oh, that's Gary Riley. Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah. Well, you're an industry guy.
Well, I am an industry guy, Kevin. I mean, I don't know what you expect, but god dang it.
Yeah, it's old hat, man.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, so, how about that 2 years in a row I missed that show?
Well, we all missed it this last time, so.
Right.
It's a bummer.
So hopefully 21, this all turns around and we can get back to doing the fun stuff we like to do. But that was pretty amazing. So if you haven't seen that, set aside some time. I recommend watching it on a television, a big TV, instead of a phone or a laptop or something.
Good call.
Because it does look really good. And go to our V8 TV YouTube channel or the Muscle Car of the Week YouTube channel. And the McCacken Show put up a YouTube channel as well and has it on there too. So that's definitely worth checking out.
So many cars in that museum.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable, the collection they have.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I love it. Every car there.
Yeah. Well, and so they released the location finally publicly. It's in Oregon. Mm-hmm. And you still can't go there because it's not open, and that part of the world is still under a super COVID clampdown. So hopefully this stuff blows over, and then they'll be able to open the doors for charity events and whatnot, and
right on.
Let people in to check it out.
Dig it. It is no longer parts unknown.
Yes, pretty crazy. Yeah.
Right on.
So the rest of this past week since I've been back, we kicked out another video, another cue ball voiceover extravaganza, the 46 Ford restoration.
Yeah, people are eating it up, man.
Spotlight, yeah. Great car. Did a nice job with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And we certainly got more to come. So,
yeah, I like that 46 Ford. That's cool.
Yeah, it was super clean.
Yeah.
Very nice car. All right. Well, at this point, I can hear this collective holding of the breath all over the world, wondering what the answers are to our trivia questions.
All right.
So, what do you got?
Well, let's take it away then. All right, Kevin, I asked you about the passenger side view mirror and how it achieved the objects in the mirror being closer than they appear, and why. And you said you think it's convex, concave, convex. Well, it is convex, and it is done there for a wider field of view. And it typically came about when highways became multi-lane, much wider multi-lane, so you could get a better view of all the other traffic.
Right on.
So, yeah, so nicely done, sir.
Very cool.
And now let's hear about the Rambler executive option.
Yes.
Oh, man. I can't wait to see how that comes around.
Yeah. Well, my question to you was, you've heard of the REO Speedwagon and the REO car company. What did REO stand for? And your suggestion was the Rambler executive option, which is brilliant.
Isn't it, though? Isn't it? I deserve have credit just for that.
Well, when I think executive, I think Rambler.
Yes.
Yeah,
don't we all? Don't we all?
Cadillac, no. Imperial, no.
Lincoln, pish posh.
Nope. Rambler. So the actual correct answer was Ransom Eli Olds.
Olds.
Yep, Mr. Olds
started REO, you guys,
and abbreviated it after himself. So
nice.
There you go.
Nice.
But I do like your answer.
Thank you. I like my answer too. That's right up along there with the dashboard question.
Which that was an Olds thing, also almost. The Olds curved dash.
Curved dash. It all comes around, man. Full circle here.
Yeah. And, after listening to the show, people have called me a rambler.
Yeah. Well, it all fits. It all ties together somehow.
It's a serendipitous episode.
It is serendipitous. Absolutely.
Oh, man. Must be off my meds.
Well, we're glad you're around to be able to take meds, so there's that.
Yeah, me too. Mm-hmm. So, again, we appreciate everybody hanging with us during the recess, if you will. A little bit rusty here, but hopefully you enjoyed this particular episode. Promise we'll have another one out sooner than this one. Yeah. Mike's already working on another trivia question that he stole from the Haggerty Trivia Night.
I stole every one of them.
Yeah. Did they say, are they going to do that again?
I believe they are going to do it again, yes.
All right, good. We'll have to get involved.
Yeah, I have the email address, so I'll fire it off and say, hey, I want to be part of the next one too.
Right on.
We want to be part of the next one.
That's it. I mean, you can't. Was there a team aspect, or just every individual?
Every person for themselves.
Yeah.
But you and I would run that.
Yeah, I was wondering if it'd be both of our heads in the same window. Oh man. All right. Well, that's about all I got for this time. Again, we appreciate you checking out V8 Radio. If you liked it, subscribe. There's all kinds of different places to do that. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Podchaser.
Yeah, the whole shebang.
If you're hearing it, you know where to find it. So thank you for that. And I guess we will see you next time on the next episode of V8 Radio.